Well, now, never borrow money to pay school fees. Well, I know you're already about to crucify me on the comment section. Before you do that, anyway, hear me out, all right? You know what? I told you guys on this channel, I'm going to be sharing with you the truth and nothing but the truth. And I'm going to shake off those things that you've been believing in the society. And some of the information are actually wrong because most of us are actually financially illiterate. And why? Because this information was never offered to us when we were growing up. Guess what? On this channel, guess what? I do receive a lot of calls. And I have seen people languishing in poverty after them borrowing a huge chunk of money to pay the school fees on the basis of, guess what, I'm going to get a job, therefore I'm going to get good money, therefore I'm going to be able to pay back this amount of money. And maybe they used, let's say, an asset. Maybe they have their own property. Maybe, let's say, you're in a family somewhere and then you took a loan against that property. Maybe it was a land or something of sort. And then you end up finishing the school, you graduate and you don't get a job. Perhaps you're watching this video from Western countries likes of the US, UK, and wherever, where jobs probably are close to being 100% sure that you're going to get a job. But if you're watching this from Africa, you can relate to what I'm talking about. If you're Kenyan here, how much do you owe the HELB? HELB is like a body that offers loans in Kenya. And when you're going through the academic in the university, you get that loan and you're supposed to pay back. Most of the people up to now, they have never paid their loans back. And guess what? It is accumulating. Interest is accumulating because jobs are not there. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by not getting a loan to pay your school fees. This is what we do. Most of the people tend to think that paying school fees or doing so, it's actually an investment. No, it's more of a sustainability or sustainable than it is an investment. Let me explain. You see, in life, and I've never ceased to explain to you things. Life, there are two things. One, we have the sustainables. Sustainables, we know it's basic thing that anyone and every kid out there should get education. And I fully support it, all right? Especially from the kindergarten all the way to high school. The tertiary education, that is whatever, okay? Those are sustainables, okay? And two, we have things that are called developmental. And this is what people tend to do. See, when you're actually sustaining or when you're paying or when you're servicing the sustainables, you tend to think like you're developing. For example, when you pay school fees, when you eat, when you buy yourself, let's say, a car, when you live in a quite of a luxury place, when you're paying your rent or something of sort, that is actually a sustainable. It does not grow you. So what happened is people pull the school fees or whatever and put it in development, of which is not the case. And these are the thing. You have a piece of property somewhere, you go actually get a loan against it, and you go maybe do something like your master's. I've ever seen some people, you have an undergraduate degree, you go get a loan. And I'm giving you a real example of an individual who called me. He actually went ahead and borrowed 300,000, all right, to go do something called masters of any whatever he was doing out there. And then out of this amount of money, guess what happens? He said, right now, when I'm having an undergraduate, I'm actually being paid. It was around 75,000. It was around 75,000. And remember one thing, this money is before tax. If you do the taxes, was going almost to like say 55,000, all right? 55,000. And the guy was like, okay, fine. I have done my savings and I have 300,000 with me, and I'm going to go ahead and do the masters in the name of actually improving my value. And by the way, never forget this. The more you learn, the more you earn. That is the principles, has never changed. And by the way, I'm not looking at it from changing anytime soon. So the guy had 300,000 Kenyan shillings in his savings. And then he was saying, hey, I'm going to take this amount of money, go do my masters. And I was asking this, okay, fine. Are you going to do your masters, or when were you taking that loan to go and do the masters? Are you actually going ahead and doing the masters with an assurance that you're going to get a job? He said, hey, guess what? I'm going to go ahead and use this money to do what? To go ahead and do the masters for me, okay? So the guy, so this is guy A. The guy A has saved, he has the savings. And the guy B, which I'm talking about, he actually borrowed. And the guy B took the 300,000. You go and borrow, right? That money, you go do your masters. The masters was going, I think, 2 years or something of sort. And you're going to consume this amount of money. And you need to pay what we call the monthly payment, because that's the principle of money. The institutions, and guess what they're aiming for? They're aiming for your 55,000. And guess how much they're going to part with this? Probably they ask you for the 20,000 out of this amount of money. You're remaining with 35,000. You remain with 35,000. This is what you're supposed to eat, drink, and sustain your life and all those kind of things. All right. Now, this 35,000, then you're banking on the 300,000 for the next 2 years for you to get the masters to earn more money. And I asked the guy, how much were you aiming to get out of this? That was what he said. I was actually looking at it from, doubling the amount of money, or rather doubling the salary. Probably the guy was looking at it from 150K at the end of the year. And I've seen a lot of people making this mistake. And guess what? Let's say the guy is successfully, what will you sacrifice yourself, you manage to pay back the loan, and again, maybe let's say your salary shoots up back to 75,000, or rather 55,000, and what happens? Up to date, the guy has never gotten the job. And if you've gotten the job, the guy has said, hey, guess what? I've only gotten an increment of 25,000, and now I'm at 100,000 Kenyan shillings at the end of the month. And this is after 4 years of doing the job hunt and such kind of a thing. So I ask myself, who bewitched people? Because most of the people tend to have this understanding, especially these people who are called the academicians, these people who bank on education and all those kind of things. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the fact remains, especially watching this from Africa, you already know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to pose a question to you, and I want you to comment on the comment section. You are an undergraduate, you are making 55,000 at the end of the month. Okay, 75,000, but 55, tax-free, that not really tax-free, but post-tax. And now you have yourself a potential of borrowing 300,000, or maybe you have a savings of 300,000 Kenyan shillings with you. You have two options here. You are torn in between getting the 300, going back to school for the masters, or getting the 300 and going back and investing this amount of money. Which one, honestly speaking, which one would you go for? And I'm posting this question for the people who are watching me from the great African continent. What exactly would you do? Would you take the 300,000 and go do the masters on the basis of your banking on the chances? Remember one thing, when you take a loan and go to school, you're banking on the chances of you getting that job in one day or the other. That's the point. Or you take this amount of money, you put it in a treasury bills or treasury bond. Say you put this in a treasury bonds, you're giving yourself like say 17% out of this amount of money. Yearly, there is a certain amount of money that you have as whatever. I mean, seriously, if you ask me if you love education, I would advise you get this amount of money and not all of it, like 100,000. Go learn some short skills. For example, nowadays we are moving away from the mainstream sort of an education. We are going to the short skills like the graphic design, things to do with some people nowadays, they are doing the AI kind of a thing. Some people are doing things to do with annotation. Some people are doing that copywriting. Some people are doing article writing. Some people right now, as we speak, they are doing software, I don't know, upgrade and what have you, web designing, all those kind of things. If you ask me if you want to get something, it's quite interesting that I had a client whom we were having a conversation with. The guy is in the medical field, and right now he's working online and he's doing things to do with reviews of gambling sites and all those kind of things. The guy is making quite of a good amount of money, and he was telling me if he can work a little bit harder, he actually had chances of making more money that he's making from the mainstream education that he's school for. You get what I'm saying? So at times I have seen people languishing in poverty on the basis of them taking school fees. And when you get yourself in a situation whereby you're forcing or you're being forced to take a loan for you to service a school fees, it means probably you actually bite that what you cannot be able to swallow. And by the way, taking a loan to service the school fees on the basis of someone joining university or being in university or to clear university school, it's a little bit okay compared to an individual who is taking a loan. Let's say you have a kid, let's say in grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5 or something of sort, or maybe in high school, and you're taking a loan to service that school fees. You're supposed to think again and again and again. Guess what? Haven't you seen a family which is languishing in poverty on the basis that they took a loan? The land is going because they cannot be able to pay that loan. Because you see, you are banking, and guess what? Who is winning on this? You are banking on the basis of, hey, one day I might get a job out of these school fees that I'm paying out of this place, compared to an individual who is telling me, I do not care. You've taken a loan from me as a bank. I want a monthly payment. And obviously that monthly payment comes from what? Comes from your salary. And remember one thing, the principle of investment, the principles of finances says this: the moment you get a loan, because there is a high chances of that loan turning out to be a what? A bad loan. There's a fact and there's a reality. And this is what I would tell you guys. You would rather take the longest period of time. You would rather take a little bit of your time to save by yourself, to have the money with you in cash, and go get the education if you must get it, the education, because I understand not all of us perceive the education the way I do, or some of us perceive it. Rather than going getting a loan that you're supposed to pay monthly, meaning you have to do the salary deductions, and then you take another 4 years before you secure yourself another job. That is actually, for example, let's take a case of scenario of that individual who was banking on getting the double of the amount of money, but he got only 25,000 on top of what he was getting initially, and that is what he's actually banked on. And guess what? Who is winning in this game? You're supposed to be very keen and careful. For example, from the time the guy took a loan, that is the 2 years, plus the 4 years of job hunt, that is 6 years. Can you imagine this? If you had your own savings, assuming you never took a loan, it's for your savings. Assuming you had that savings of 300K and you're investing this thing, let's say in an MMF continuously. And remember what I told you guys, only 5,000 monthly in a period of 10 years can actually make you a million bob, because it's compounding. Can you imagine if you were to secure, even if you never do any top up, or let's say you were crazy enough, you take this 300,000, you put it in a money market fund for the next 6 years, all right, for the next 6 years, and on top of that 6 years, this 20,000 that is being deducted in case of a loan, assuming that you're having a virtual loan somewhere, you are pumping into this. Can you imagine 20,000 multiplied by 12 multiplied by 6? Tell me how much it will be. And that is just a flat rate, assuming there were no interest. You tell me how much you're going to be saving by yourself. Can you imagine that? And now subject this money to an inflation, or rather to what we call the compounding effect. By the time you're clocking the 6 years, bro and sister, you're gonna have a lot of money, and probably you'll be in a situation whereby the amount of money that you're earning as an interest rate, it's way probably close to what you're earning from the active income, or more than what you're earning in active income. Remember one thing, how we achieve the financial freedom is not what we got from our old tradition views and ways, and we are taught by our parents and something of so. You need to be smart. If you have the 300,000 with you, put in an MMF for the next 6 years for that case scenario, and then the 20,000 are supposed to be deducted from your salary, pump it to an MMF, grow the beast, and now guess what? This money is subjected to what we call a compounding effect. But then now you're clocking the 6 years, you have yourself a lot of money, and then you can think of getting a fraction of that amount of money and what we call it, diversify into maybe having a business you get off from the investment, and that way you're gonna have yourself like a good amount of money, and then you're free from this sort of entanglement, like, hey, you must get these skills, you must get whatever, you must be financially free. And financially free starts from your brain all the way to having it in your system, so that at least you be on the winning end as far as the finances are concerned. I hope I made sense on this video, and maybe if you disagree with me on the comment section, there is no problem. This is an open discussion. Tell me, what do you think? I've said if you want to take a loan, maybe for somebody who is going for the university and getting a tertiary education, it's a little bit understandable. And I've seen people who actually are paying school for their primary school kids or high school kids, and maybe those guys are actually paying school fees more than you can be able to sustain. You can see somebody who is making 55,000 at the end of the month, 55,000 at the end of the month, and this guy is paying something like 35,000, or maybe let's say 40,000. Even if you say it's up for 3 months, come on. There is nothing wrong with giving your kids the quality education, but at the same time, do not break yourself, do not break your back. Give them that what you can afford and is of better quality. If it is better than yours, and with that worse that you got, you are where you are, and you're giving them better than you got, then it means you have chances of doing better in life, or they have chances of doing better in life than what you're doing right now. That is a reality, and that is a fact, and that's how we grow ourselves, and that's how we progress. I hope I made sense on this video, and if I did, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to comment on the comment section. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and by the way, don't forget, my number is on the description of this specific video. You can pick that number, shoot me a call. Let's talk about businesses. I offer those services at a personal level for just a cup of coffee's price. And never forget, I still have booklets about investments, about shares, about money market fund. I also have booklets about treasury bills, treasury bonds, businesses. Everything is out there. You can get a copy, and copy goes for only 208 Kenya shillings. For now, it's a goodbye, and see you the next one.